This is a tweet from Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I think, by the way, keeping Ben & Jerry's in mind, the Daily Wire might need to start its own ice cream company as well. So Ben & Jerry says, "We are heartbroken by the loss of our fellow Vermonter, Fern Feather. Sadly, she was another transgender person targeted for simply being herself." This was trending over the weekend because Ben & Jerry's tweeted it and other left-wing accounts were tweeting it about this transgender person who was murdered. And the claim being made by Ben & Jerry's and everybody else on the left is that this was a hate crime. This was someone who was killed for being transgender. But yet, you read the article that Ben & Jerry's linked to, you actually click on it and read it, this is what you see. A few paragraphs down, you get to this. Well, first, at the beginning, it says, "The killing of a transgender woman in Morristown drew outrage and condemnation across Vermont on Wednesday. Hinesburg resident Fern Feather, 29, was found stabbed to death along a Morristown road on Tuesday morning, according to Vermont State Police. Feather's death prompted an outpouring of grief and anger from top state officials and on social media. House Speaker Representative Jill Krowinski said Feather was tragically taken from this world too soon, like so many other transgender people who are targeted in bias-driven attacks. Krowinski said, "We absolutely need to continue to take steps to make Vermont a more equitable place and be clear that hate has no place in our state." Well, yeah, we know that bigoted right-wing cesspool of Vermont. And so this is the direct claim that they're making, that this person, Fern Feather, was killed for being transgender. Yet you read a few more paragraphs down, this is what it says. Prosecutors have charged Seth Brunel, 43, with second-degree murder in Feather's death. Brunel, who was not known to have a fixed address, had been spending time with Feather before the killing. Roughly 2 hours before Feather's body was found, officers with the sheriff's department had encountered the pair in a car together in the parking lot. Deputies checked on Feather and Brunel and waited for them to leave the parking lot. Upon his arrest, Brunel told police that he had been defending himself against Feather, who made a sexual advance and attacked him. Investigators observed no injuries or evidence of a struggle or an assault on Brunel. Now, the point is, I have no idea whether this self-defense claim is true or not, whether he's telling the truth. I don't know. But there is nothing in that description of the crime that indicates at all that this was a hate crime. There is right now zero evidence, none, that this person was killed for being transgender. Just that they were killed, that they were a transgender person who now, sadly, is dead. And the way that the left does this now is that the simple fact that a transgender person was killed is itself evidence of a hate crime. And that's why you can read articles like on one I just had pulled up from PBS. This was at the end of last year. And it said, with nearly 2 months left, 2021 has shattered the record of transgender homicides in a year with 45 to date, according to the Human Rights Campaign. Last year held the record with 44 trans murders. And there were a lot of headlines towards the end of last year about how it was the deadliest year, quote unquote, the deadliest year on record for transgender people. And these are all hate crimes. Except that's the number of transgender people who were murdered, period, across the entire country for an entire year, 45. And the claim is what? That without hate crimes, no transgender person would ever be murdered? Like there's no other reason why a trans person would ever be killed? So we get rid of the hate crime problem and no trans people would be immune from murder. Of course, that doesn't make any sense at all. Given that murder is something that happens sadly in every community in America, you take any group of people, any demographic, and in a given year, a certain portion of them are going to be murdered. Just because they're human beings living in a society where this sort of thing happens. That is not itself evidence of a hate crime. Now, if you were to whittle that down, you take that 45 number and you look at it and you look at each individual case, how many of them, out of the 45, how many of them were proven to be actual hate crimes, as in the person was killed for being transgender, and what you find is that it's a vanishingly small number. Vast majority of people murdered who are transgender, it's domestic disputes, drug-related, prostitution-related. In other words, it's the same reason why most murders occur against most demographics of people. Those are the facts. Not that it matters at all, of course, to the left. Hey, listen, hit the subscribe button. Do it right now. I demand it. And I thank you for your compliance. It is somewhat appreciated.